Hello and welcome to another episode of Firearms Insider Gun and Gear Review Podcast. This is episode 147. On this show, we showcase gun reviews, gear, and anything else that the gun enthusiast may be looking for. We strive to evaluate products from an unbiased and honest perspective. I'm your host, Ryan Cross from the Firearms Radio Network, your source of broadcasts for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This week we got Tony, Sean from Black Bag Resources, Chad, and Rob in the house. How's it going, guys?
Awesome.
Woohoo.
Great.
Sweet. What did everyone do in guns this week, starting with Mr. Wallace over there?
Well, let's see. A couple days ago, once it cooled down a little bit here, I took some rifles out and sighted them in. I got a 2.5 to 15 scope from a company called Sturka, and they also sent me one of their red dots, so it's on an AR, and sighted those babies in, so they seem to be quite nice with some weird functions on some of them. And I have Jake sent me to review these Amend 2 AR mags, so I, shot some rounds out of those and dropped them on the concrete and stuff like that. So they're so far doing fairly well. So that's my extent of this week in guns. Besides, I guess I sold some stuff, but that doesn't really matter.
Nope. What about you, Rob?
Not a whole lot. Spent a little bit of time at the range turning money into flying lead projectiles at paper targets. Other than that, not a whole lot.
Cool. And Tony, did you do anything good?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I went out and took the high point 9mm carbine out, put some rounds through it, just zero it at 25, and see how small my groups could get. If you follow me on Simon Says Train on Instagram, or even if you're a friend of mine on Facebook, or you saw, we are talking quarter-size 5-round groups, even 10-round groups that are about, an inch, and a little more than an inch, with a couple of flyers that I think had something more to do with me than the rifle. So it's pretty accurate at 25. So tomorrow I'm taking it out again with different ammunition, do 25 and 50 yards.
Sweet. What about you, Sean?
I ordered a bunch of parts and accessories and magazines for some projects Tony and I are going to work on over the next couple of weeks for his SKS and his High Point. And I helped my neighbor move a gun safe up to the second floor of his house. So at this point, I'm about ready to join Mom's Demand Action because I've had enough of that nonsense.
Right on. I didn't really do too much gun-related besides carry. However, after our conversation on the last podcast, Sean mentioned something about steel. I can't remember if that was on air or off the air, but Sean of Black Bag Resources, I managed to buy some actual armor from him, and I already got it in this last Monday. So this is from Spartan Armor Systems, the 650 plate. It's got a really interesting contour. It's a lot more complex of a contour than just the standard, to kind of barrel contour shape. So it should fit your abdomen a little bit better. It's a lighter weight and stronger than AR-500, and from what Sean's been telling me, it's a lot easier to deal with this company than AR-500 armor right now.
So
yeah,
it's
their turnaround times are
that contour's not big enough for my abdomen.
I was going to say, Ryan's boobs won't fit in that contour either.
No.
I've already checked, it does.
Oh.
They do.
Oh, you check for fit and function, right?
Yeah, I put it in my little carrier, and I put a bunch of mags in it, and I was actually curious to see what the weight was, so I weighed it today, and it was 22 pounds was how much my whole rig weighs. I don't know if Sean can compare that to other rigs that he's weighed on a scale or not, but...
Yeah, that's about average because you're talking about 16 pounds of plates front and back, plus, your carrier, which is a couple of pounds. And if I remember correctly, you got one of the laser cut Sentry plate carriers that's roughly 30% lighter than a standard Molly webbing setup.
Yep, that's right.
So pretty slick setup. Cuts a little bit of weight there, but as soon as you add loaded magazines and stuff to it, that weight goes right back up.
Yeah, 3 loaded 30 rounders and 3 loaded 30 round Glock extendo happy sticks for my my little SBR carbine. Yep.
Hey, do they make those like flat to put in a backpack or something like that, or would you just put that when you bought in a backpack?
They do. They have the regular contour, do they not?
Yeah, they've got what you have is called an advanced triple curve. They also have a standard single curve, and I believe they also do flat backpack plates if you're interested in something like that.
Okay.
Yep. So I'll be doing a review on them. I don't know if I'm going to shoot them or not. I've got some soft armor that I'm also in the process of reviewing, and I will shoot that because that was a given to me. But being that I paid for these plates, I kind of want them pristine so I can actually use them and depend on them. But I'll have to think of ways that I can do a thorough review. Because a lot of the armor reviews I see on YouTube are people actually going out to the ranch and setting it up and shooting at it with calibers going up in velocity and firepower. So
yeah, I was going to say that's about the best way to do a thorough review on armor.
Yeah, I know, but if someone else like Demolition Ranch or some other YouTuber has a review on shooting Spartan armor system plates, I'm not really adding anything to the conversation by shooting them as well. So as long as somebody else is already out there, I'll probably link to their video in the review.
Here's a test you can do, Ryan. Drop it on the kitchen tile and see how long your fiance makes you sleep on the couch.
The other thing you could do is put that plate carrier on with the plates and go run a 5K.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could do that.
Try a 1K first.
Or a half K.
Yeah, quarter
Getting
K.
around the block.
Round the block, take it off, have a beer. Okay, yay, successful.
To the end of the driveway.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you do this? Put it on and have your fiance shoot you.
If I break kitchen tile, that just might happen.
We'll need to get another one.
Yeah. So that's pretty much all I've done in guns. I did want to start off the podcast by reading some listener feedback as opposed to reading it at the end, because I kind of wanted to have a conversation on the air about the ways that we can improve our podcast, and I did get some very constructive criticism over the weekend that just might have sparked some ideas to improve the podcast. So I want to read this first. I got this in email form. They contacted me off the website. So this is from Terry. It says, I have difficulty listening to your podcast. I enjoy almost all of the Firearms Radio Network podcasts, but yours is difficult. A gun and gear review show should be based on people's personal reviews and their experiences of guns and gear that they have actually picked up, held, used, shot, sighted in, and qualified with. Your show is a lot of regurgitating other people's reviews of guns and gear. I can read for myself. I can go to YouTube myself under reviews, but under reviews that I want to review. Having your guys tell me what other people are saying is a waste of my time. For me, I will not waste time with this podcast anymore unless I see the elimination of reading stats off the internet and regurgitating other people's reviews. So there was a little bit of repetition in there, but from that piece of constructive criticism, it kind of got me thinking about, well, it is a gun and gear review podcast, but each show we probably talk 60 to 70% of the time or more about new products that we spotlight, and then we have a couple reviews at the end, or maybe one per show, and that does seem a little imbalanced when you think about the title of the podcast. So it got me thinking of, well, I enjoy talking about new products, and a lot of times that inspires me to actually go out and purchase them and then do a review on them. But I think we need two podcasts here. I think we need a podcast dedicated to new product spotlight, and then we need this Gun and Gear Review podcast dedicated to 2 to 3 or more reviews per episode, and still trying to keep it between an hour and an hour and a half. So I think I'd like to shift it in that direction in the future. I know that we've gotten a lot of feedback on the show so far. This is episode 147. I've been on here since, I think, 6 or 7, so that's roughly 140 shows since I've been hosting. And a lot of the feedback's been, oh, this is great, this is good. Don't say like, or kind of other ticks in the conversation while I'm trying to think of what to say. So that really hasn't shaped my and inspired me to improve the podcast. All I knew was, hey, people are enjoying it. I'm just going to keep doing what we're doing, keep the same format that I kind of inherited from the start. But being the host, I can change the format however I like, as long as everyone kind of agrees. So what do you guys think? Do you think we should focus on getting more of our personal gear review, actual reviews from the Firearms Insider on this podcast, and save some of that product spotlight for a different podcast that somebody could download and listen separately?
Well, I think a lot of it's going to depend on what the Lord High Mayor of the Firearms Radio Network wants us to do. But no, I mean, it does make sense if this is the Gun and Gear Review podcast. Maybe we do a few more reviews and maybe one item spotlight per show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until we can get a secondary podcast set up, because it's not easy to do a podcast. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in the background before, during, and after pre-production and the post-production to get this thing rolling. So doing a secondary podcast is going to take a little bit to get up, get spun up, get spooled up, get the people, the resources together, and also the schedule.
Yep. I mean, I definitely barely have enough time to be handling this one. And I like doing both. I like talking about new stuff, obviously, because we're all kind of heavily gear-minded, and could use any excuse to buy something new. Oh, it's for the show. But
that would be my question: is how much product and materials is Terry willing to donate to the program for us to endorse his brilliant idea to personally review and quote-unquote qualify on each piece of equipment?
Yeah. And on top of that, let me hit you up with this one. Everybody doesn't read reviews all over the place like we do because we like it. Everyone doesn't subscribe to multiple YouTube channels. Some people hear about new stuff here, and then they want our opinion of it because we've done this research. We've looked at other things, and we also talk about guns we've shot, and we compare them to the new stuff using that particular experience and comparing it to this new gun with the features they say they have. So we do bring our experience to the table, maybe not with something that just came out, but when you're looking at the Glock Gen 5, quote unquote, or whatever you want to call it, and you've shot other Glocks, you can kind of talk, you shot other pistols, you can kind of talk about the features that are in that Glock and whether it's worth it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I was going to say this, even though, even between all of us that are on here, Ryan pretty much every time, not everybody's on here all the time, but sometimes just getting one review from 5 or 6 people, because it's not like you can whip a review out in a week. I mean, if you get a product and a week later, it's not like you can review it. So, it might be kind of hard to get more than one or even 2 reviews, in per show. So maybe, try to keep it down a little bit on the products we talk about, maybe. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there also. I just know, since we all have lives, that doing a review sometimes is not the easiest thing to do. And we do it because we like to, and it helps people out, not because, we're just doing it because, hey, it's a review. We want to get it out there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to turn this into the Trash on Terry show, because he's got some very valid points. I think maybe the way he made them could have been a little better, but, I mean, I can definitely see the points he's coming out with.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think anybody disagrees with that. I think from a logistics standpoint, it becomes how realistic is it for us to have something new. And I think part of the confusion is what Ryan addressed in the very beginning, that there's a difference between a product spotlight of something that's brand new to the market, and we're discussing it as the concept. The same way the auto industry talks about a concept car that isn't necessarily released yet, based on those specifications, versus a review of something that's already out and on the market and commercially available, or at least available for T&E for Chad to get his hands on.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, or for me to get my hands on through the business, providing to a customer, any of those other things. But I think at the same time, okay, if we're going to push for more reviews, I'm all about it. And I'll be happy to do a quick write-up on a lot of the things that I handle through the business. But I'm gonna expect Terry to place an order. That's my caveat. Terry, blackbagresources.com.
Nice.
No
And also, my thing is, when you do a review, what's the turnaround time on it? I open this thing up on Wednesday and I give you a review next Tuesday. Really? Of a knife or of a magazine that I shot once at the range? I mean, what's the review time we're talking? Yeah. You know how much time you put into stuff. And, I mean, you can see it on YouTube. Somebody does an unboxing review. What the heck is an unboxing review, bro? You just opened it.
To me, that's even less useful than, you know, the intelligent discussions we have here. I'm going to say it flat out like that. You know, I mean, at least we have some valuable experience with comparable products, but somebody just pulling it out of the box and going, hey, I like it because I like this color and it didn't fall out of my hands and break the tile in the kitchen. So far, so good.
Nobody's saying that we need to degrade our reviews into, like, overviews and, hey, I just got this week. Like, we could still keep up the quality of what we're doing. You know, I've had some of these backpacks for 3 months already, and I'm just now getting the reviews up. So
Right.
nobody's expecting like a quicker turnaround, kind of a fast food type deal. But I do agree that I think moving forward, I'm going to take this in 2 different kind of steps. The first step is I'm going to stop regurgitating what other people are saying. I'll have it on the written review, on the Firearms Insider review. If you go to firearmsinsider.tv, if you want to read what other people have said, because that's actually one of the 8 key points that is in our outline format for the reviews. If you want to see what other people say, I'll have it there, but I won't read it on the air because, you know, I think that maybe that doesn't really have as much value as, you know, if it takes me 2 minutes to read what somebody else said about the product, how about I just spend 2 more minutes talking about my own personal experience? And if you want to read what somebody else said about it, you could A, Google it yourself. Actually, we'll call that B because A, you go to the Firearms Insider, go to the written review where I have the photos and all that, and just read the little snippet that I copied and pasted from someone else's review. That way, if you're an audio listener or if, God help you, you're watching on YouTube, then you could actually hear good content and not have to like fast forward through what he says regurgitating. So I'm going to try doing that, and then that's my first plan of attack. The second plan is I think 2 podcasts would be great. I'm not guaranteeing that would happen, that would work, but farther down the line I could see the Gun and Gear Review podcast being a much shorter duration and focusing on 1 or 2 reviews at a time, and having a Firearms Insider podcast. We had tried that before, but just the hosting and the other kind of logistics kind of fell through. But have the Firearms Insider podcasts that focus on the new products coming out. And I'd be glad to take part in both. I just can't run both at the same time. So I'll have to talk with Jake about that. And maybe what we really need is somebody that wants to actively do a podcast every week. And
I volunteer Tony Simon as tribute.
I second that.
I third it.
Wow,
So.
It's been seconded and thirded.
We
Yes.
better vote on
Voluntold,
it.
son.
It's unanimous.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
better vote on it.
So
All in favor, aye.
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 All opposed, keep your mouth shut.
All right, then. I guess I'm running the new
Something
Simon
or other.
Says Train Black Bag Resources.
Whoa, 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 whoa,
Seconded for
whoa.
everybody. Yeah, you in.
Quit signing me up for stuff. That's not how this works.
You're in, dog.
So I know
I got a store. Yeah, some of the stuff I bring in for the store.
Yeah, guess what, buddy? It's on like Donkey Kong.
Pulling your corporate sponsorship.
I think Black Bag is just pulled out of the show.
How do I hang up?
Don't get it twisted. BBR is in.
So I know TJ is interested in this because he had talked to me earlier a while ago about maybe getting that back up and going again, and some of us making double appearances on this show and on that show. So I'll get TJ involved in the conversation. I know right
More
now he's
listeners.
he's up to his ankles or higher in
TJ's
water.
Yelling, TJ's yelling at his waterlogged laptop right now.
Through a snorkel.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
I won't in. I won't in.
well, I just
Poor
wanted
TJ.
to touch on that real quick. Let's move on to the announcements. But I did want to thank.
So we
Go
all
ahead.
agree we're going to give Terry what he wants, but none of us are sending him a Christmas card?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
I mean, I could have done without the ultimatum at the end of the feedback, but I do appreciate the constructive criticism and not just being a sheep and saying, "Oh, great show." But I don't want to diss my listeners and call them sheep for just encouraging me, because that's good too. But nobody gets better by just, "Hey, good job," a pat on the back. You get better by looking at some of your weaknesses and your strengths and trying to build up and improve what you're doing. So that's all we're talking about. So thanks for that, Terry. We're going to try and do better.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, also, too, if Terry would like to come on the show, I think we'd be glad to have another guest host or a alternate adjunct host on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on.
Maybe
We're
I
always
need
looking
to
for new
start-
people to harass and antagonize.
Right. Well, and if he qualifies with gear, I mean that he has to have a lot more personal experience and expertise with certain gear. So it'd be great to have that on the show, as opposed to us just going, "Oh man, that's pretty. Oh man, I wish I could afford that." Like that micro gun we talked about last show.
That's exactly where my
No.
mind went. Terry just volunteered to buy us a micro gun for the
Ooh,
show.
yes.
Thanks, pal.
No, you volunteered to buy each one of us a microgun, right? Each one.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Including TJ.
Hey, does Chad also count? Because he just dropped out.
Nope, he just lost his.
Oh, yeah. Well, Chad will come back in. So let me get through the announcements. Bandwidth sponsor for the podcast is Patriot Patch Co. Some new things we got going on with Patriot Patch Co. We got the mini bullet patch, or all the different names that we've nicknamed him. So we've had it available in a 4-inch long variant, and now it comes in a much smaller version to fit on almost like name tape area loop panels on your hats or your tactical gear. So that's for pre-order right now. The Summer Brew 3-pack is in stock. It's no longer pre-order, so those have shipped out to those who pre-ordered, and it is available for purchase immediately. We've also got Just an Opinion patches and the Gun Collective bundles that are exclusive, and we do have cleaning mats also available on the website. So those cleaning mats, we've got the AK-47 and the AR-15. So those are $25 a piece. Those are artwork that I've painstakingly put on these cleaning mats for you guys. I'm particularly proud of the M4 one. So we'll be doing more cleaning mats in the future. Hope to get maybe like a Scar, maybe a Bullpup on there.
Scar?
Yeah, I did do an M1 Garand for a different company, so I don't know how we can. There might be a way for us to bring that on to once it gets released on their website that I'm working on right now. I got a lot of irons in the fire, but
Hey, is the M4 in stock yet?
the what now?
The M4 is cleaning.
Yeah,
Is
the
it-
M4 cleaning mat is in stock.
Well, Jake owes me one then. Hey, also, if you guys are looking to have custom patchwork done, they do really good jobs. I had them do one for my Triangle NRA chapter in Raleigh.
Nice.
They did a really, really good job on that one. Really pleased with it.
Thank you. Yep. So, yeah, go on over to patriotpatch.co. I am working on hopefully getting the new website launched this week, so we're kind of shifting over to a different platform. Same products available, just different format to help streamline the inventory and make Jake's life a little easier. So if you see the website look different this week, don't panic. That was on purpose. So going through the other announcements here, comment on the Firearms Insider reviews or current Firearms Radio Network show notes for a chance to win some Patriot Patch swag. Constructive criticism is always welcomed, just no ultimatums, please. And Black Bag Resources has a 10% off $50 or more coupon code site-wide until August 31st using the coupon code Hyperbole. Get yourself some awesome AR-650 Spartan Armor Systems steel plate, 10% off. Bam.
Schmaybe.
Schmaybe.
Yeah, I'm waiting to hear back from my rep as to whether or not I can do that. But
Oh, you don't have them up completely yet?
They're on the website. They're available for purchase. I can't guarantee that discount will apply to the armor.
I'm putting you on the spot. You got to make it
You
work.
are kind of putting me on the spot. He's blowing me up big time. But if it doesn't, here's my promise. I will throw something extra awesome in the box at no charge.
Ooh, awesomeness.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute, that could be something. Okay.
That's pictures of me with my high
Well,
point.
Yeah, it's an 8x10 glossy of Tony on his high point.
Signed.
Hey
Signed.
guys.
Signed and numbered.
yeah, number 1 of 1.
Sweet. So there's the announcements. Now we're going to get into that much hated product spotlight. I think I'm going to reduce these down in the future. I mean, we'll continue as normal, this podcast, but going forward, I'm the one that puts the show notes together, so I'm the one that has control and chooses these products. And maybe I'll just weed it down to like 1 or 2 cool things. We used to do a lot more. We used to do like 5 or 6 products an episode, and now we're down to 3 products an episode. We'll try and weed it down more, but I really need you guys, and I'm talking to people in this hangout right now, more reviews so that we can do 2 or 3 reviews per show and maybe eventually stop talking about new products every single show.
I think we should just start talking about small stuff like NA revolvers, North American Arm revolvers. Like I got a really small flashlight. I think we should just do actually small reviews on small stuff. What do you think? No?
He's just trying to get us to do stuff he can actually own up in Jersey.
I just want to focus on low-capacity magazines. Anything 15 rounds or less.
No, 10 rounds down.
No bayonets. No bayonet lugs. No bayonets
I
whatsoever.
got this little pocket knife that's got a 1-inch blade. Oh, it's so nice.
I think we should stop reviewing SBRs and silencers because it's discriminatory.
To the Jerseyans.
You know what? I don't like you guys. I'm with Terry. You guys are wasting my time. I'm not listening anymore.
So the first product that we're going to talk about this week is Hogue laser enhanced grips for revolvers. So we've already talked about the LEG grips for 1911s and stuff on a previous show, but I just wanted to mention that now they offer these grips for some revolvers. So if you go over to the Hogue Industries or Hogue Incorporated website, you'll see that they now have a Smith & Wesson J frame round butt and a K/L frame round butt. So these are rubber overmold grips that have lasers incorporated. So I'm not going to read through all the different models of Smith & Wessons because I will just be naming numbers randomly and I will sound like Matt Damon in what's that movie?
Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Matt Damon.
When you say laser, don't you have to do the air quotes?
Lasers? No.
It's the laser?
So colors, you're looking at black, pink, and purple. I don't see a whole lot of variety there.
Hold on, bud. You're missing one. Your favorite. It comes in dark earth.
Oh, God, yes. So there is a dark earth. It's probably not Magpul flat dark earth, but you can't. Beggars can't be choosers. It's kind of more of a tan or like a mauve. No. So the MSRP for these guys is $199.95 for the flat dark earth, and the pink one looks like the black one is $10 less at $189.95. So didn't you say you had something to mention on these, Sean?
I got a ton of information on these because it's something I've actually been looking at because Tony's got Smith & Wesson 686. Is that correct, Tony? 357?
Yes, 686, 4-inch barrel.
So eventually I was looking at potentially putting something like this on his for actual T&E. That's T&E for Terry and experience. But these are interesting because they're at a tremendously lower price point than like the Crimson Trace, far more reliable than the laser lights. So MSRP is $189 or $199. Actual street price is going to be closer to $162 because they do have a minimum advertised price. The big deal about these is that they are a digital system. So you've got different options as far as how the laser functions on different settings. You can have a strobe function on the laser if you want to do that, 5 milliwatt output, which is pretty high for a red laser. Good product all around at a pretty killer price point compared to anything else in the market.
Yeah, it looks like they've got a touchpad right where your middle finger would rest on the grip.
Correct.
Which is nice.
Touchpad and it's ambidextrous, which is the other thing. Some of these other laser manufacturers are very right-hand specific. This is good for right or left-handed use. Programming is real simple. You just hold down the laser and press the logo. There's a second button under the logo on the grip, and that's how you select your mode. And it uses the 2032 batteries that are easy and very accessible as far as finding those, and not terribly expensive like the hearing aid batteries that tend to be kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. And it does look like that when you want to, if you got to replace your battery, that you've already got it zeroed in to whatever distance you want. But it looks like the actual overmold grip comes off, but the laser and the battery unit stays mounted to the grip of your frame, so that way you don't break zero when you're changing your battery.
Absolutely correct. And as far as I know, that's the only one in the entire industry that functions that way. Everything else has to be re-zeroed if you change your batteries.
That's pretty smart.
Yeah, I think they waited until they had more. I think they waited, found out what works, what didn't work, good ideas, bad ideas, what the market likes, what it's asking for, and then they went ahead and pulled the trigger on it. I think it's a great idea. And they already made, of course, whole grips, so it was just adding the laser to something they already had.
Yep. My big question I didn't notice, and maybe Sean, is there a button to actually deactivate the laser entirely so that you can put a full squeezing pressure on the grip and not worry about burning that battery down?
Yeah, turn it off. There's an on-off switch.
Okay.
Where?
Because is it on the bottom where they usually are?
It's on the top.
It's on the top.
On the
Okay.
top by
Good.
the laser itself.
Perfect. Because I hate having it always on, always off, where you have to kind of not squeeze with your middle finger as much, just so you don't activate that laser unintentionally.
Yeah, it looks like a small little switch. But yeah, okay. I see what you're talking about, Tony.
Yeah.
And one of the cool things about it is also the stealth mode that you can put it in, which would do 3 quick pulses of the laser itself when you initially pick it up, and then it goes away. So
Cool.
that kind of just reassures where your aiming spot is by blinking, allowing you to see it quickly, and then it's just being gone.
Cool. So moving on to the next one, it also is a little something for the revolver fans out there. So CompTac has released their international holsters now in some revolver models. So CompTac makes some pretty nice gear, especially catered to competitive shooters. So IDPA and USPSA. And of course, there's the revolver division, and getting a nice Kydex competitive holster for your revolver is a little bit of a hard find. So now they offer that as well. So for the K-frame in 4-inch and 6-inch barrels, and the L-frame in 4, 5, and 6-inch barrels, and the N-frame in 2.5, 4, 5, and 6.5 barrels. So some of those have the IDPA front configuration and the USPSA front configuration. So that's looks like it's whether Kydex is only covering like the first 1.5 inches of muzzle, so that when you draw, you've got less material hindering your draw, so it could hypothetically get your draw faster, or a full coverage where you have to completely draw the gun straight up to clear the holster. So Tony's the only, big revolver guy still in here. Rob, do you have any revolvers?
I've got just a Smith 629 and a Taurus 22, but I really don't do any competition shooting with those two guns.
Yeah. So what do you guys think of something like this? Not all at once.
I'd have to pick one up and take it to a couple pistol matches before I could give you an intelligent
Yeah, you
State
gotta qualify with it first, and then you can tell us how you feel about it.
Exactly. Well, the one thing I did notice on the holster though is for the competition ones, it is the front of it is kind of notched out a little bit, so you can get that quicker presentation for your pistol.
And also, if you have any kind of red dot optic mounted to the top of your barrel or your receiver, that's going to give you the clearance for any kind of Picatinny rail, or if it's directly tapped in, because it's always kind of a bother to get a holster custom made for that clearance.
Well, I think a lot of the things that Comtech does is pretty much it's competition holsters.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't shoot competition as of yet with my revolver. It's one of the things I want to do just because it's different. But yeah, I would not have any experience with something like this, and I don't want to tick Terry off.
That's enough making fun of Terry, guys. I think he gets the point.
Well, he's not listening, is he? I don't want to waste his time. Okay, I'm done.
Okay.
Oh.
I won't do it again.
Well, he's not going to want to come on the
minutes.
show if we don't stop ragging on him when he's not even here.
Well, that's what happened to TJ. He flooded all Louisiana because we made him mad so he wouldn't be on.
Well, that's what happened to Chad. Just today he left because he couldn't take it.
Chad just forgot he was on a show because he's old. He just got up and wandered off. He's probably down the street in his bathrobe again.
Dang.
So,
You know,
There's a
Tony, with
silver
friends like
alert.
you, nobody needs enemies.
all right, we're getting kind of off topic.
Yeah, we are.
Just
And
a
I
little
blame
bit.
you.
All right, so back to this. I could see this being. I know, Randy Rogers. She does a lot of single action shooting and a lot of revolver shooting. And being that she works at Comtech, this would be a great benefit to her. She can be more expertise, and actually, when you see her shooting in the competition using some of the Comtech holsters, it's kind of a good marketing idea. Because who better to talk about your revolver holsters than having someone that shoots with her revolver competitively? So that's
Randy Rogers is amazing because she's been shooting since she was a teenager, like 14, 15. So she knows what she's talking about when it comes to this Comtech holsters. It comes in multiple colors, which I think is cool, and different ways to mount it. I don't know if you talked about that yet.
Oh yeah, well we've talked about the international holster before on the show. I've got one for the 1911. So the international holsters have kind of almost like a modular system where you can choose whether you want it on the slide, or what are the other mounting options here?
Belt, paddle,
the belt holster,
offset,
paddle, the drop offset.
Yeah, I didn't know what that meant, and then I had to check out their video to see what that was talking about. It's
that, the
actually
drop?
the drop offset. It actually is off the body at an angle, and it drops off the belt by a few inches. So it makes it part of your jaw stroke. It's lower than high on your waist. I didn't know that.
Yep. So I didn't want to kind of rehash on the international holster since we've talked about it on a previous episode, but so I got the link in the show notes if you want to check out that from the website. Next up, we got a new semi-auto shotgun from Stevens. Stevens is known for some really expensive shotguns. Oh no, wait, no, that's completely opposite. Stevens is known for really affordable shotguns that you can pick up at most box sporting goods stores. So they actually stepped into the semi-auto game with the S1200, and this is a shotgun that's available in a synthetic stock, and I believe there's also a camouflage version available.
They should have a camouflage version available, Turkish walnut available, and I think 2 different camouflage styles.
Yeah. So the MSRP looks to be about $571. It is a 28-inch barrel or 26-inch barrel with a 5-round capacity. It's just basically a sporting semi-automatic shotgun. So something you could take to the trap field to shoot skeets, or take into the duck blind, or take with you upland bird shooting.
It's too bad it's not a double barrel. We could call it the Biden special.
Nice. Do they make one? No, I don't think so. But it's a semi-automatic shotgun that's under $600, and I think it's also inertia driven. If you're wondering how does it work, so it's kind of like a Turkish copy of the Benelli.
Yep.
For about a third the price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Benelli's that recoil system is just really nice, and I know you can get that sometimes with the what's the M2000 or M3000 by Stoger. So it's a inertia system that's often mimicked in the hunting and sporting shotgun industry. But to get it under $600 has been a little bit hard to find. I can think of some semi-autos that are under that, but I can't speak to their quality. Some Winchesters. And when you think of like, hey, I really need a cheap shotgun. Somebody invited me to go shooting, and I don't have a sporting shotgun. You usually say, oh, just go on down to Big Five or Dick's or some other kind of local sporting goods store and pick up a Stevens. But those have just been kind of pump actions up till now.
Or Tony and I'll say, holy crap, did you see that deal at Tanner's? Let's go pick up a shotgun for $125.
Yeah, I posted that earlier this week. It was incredible. Stevens 12 gauge for $119. That's nuts.
That's cool.
But yeah, Stevens seems to, well, they've always, not always, since the turn of the century, they've been the less expensive arm of Savage. So they've been doing this for a while. The annoying thing about this particular shotgun is that even though it looks a lot like a Benelli, you can't use extension tubes on it. You can't do a magazine extension on it.
That sucks.
Built. Yeah. It really blows because you have a semi-automatic shotgun. If you want to dip your toe in the 3-gun, this would seem, if it used Benelli parts, you could like order a magazine extension from Nordic. What is it?
Nordic
Components. Nordic Components, and you'd be in. You know what I mean? It's like I think they missed the boat on that one a little bit, but it might be something to do with import laws. Who knows? But Benelli's are imported, so no, I guess not.
Yeah. So the only thing is that I'm assuming it's going to be a 3-inch chamber. If it was 3.5, they would mention that or call it a Magnum. So let's just stick with calling it a 3-inch 12-gauge chamber.
Yeah, I actually heard someone refer to it as the turkey guns. The camouflage ones actually is 3.5 inch. But again, it's something I heard. I haven't seen it written.
Yeah, it's usually what happens. If there is a turkey model, it'll be a 3.5. Yeah. So those are the new products that we wanted to spotlight this week, and now I will get into my review, which I've been kind of excited to do. I've been kind of doing the opposite of Chad. Chad's awesome. He'll do the review, post it on the Firearms Insider, and then like 3-4 weeks after the fact, he'll talk about it on the show, which is probably the way to do it. I've been doing the opposite, where I'll talk about it on the show, and then it'll take me 3 to 4 weeks to get it published on the Firearms Insider, which I think is kind of lazy, and it's got to do with everything that I've got going on, so I apologize for that. However, I did get this review that I'm just about to talk about published today, so I'm kind of correcting that little bit of behavior. So this week I'm going to be talking about the Camelback Mule, and this is a hydration backpack, so it carries a reservoir for your liquid, be it water, apple juice, if you're Tony, cranberry juice, if you're Sean, dark whiskey.
Fact.
Fact. So, Camelback's been in the industry since 1988. They've started. This is what I found really interesting. Camelback started with the founder. He was in a motorcycle kind of a marathon race in Texas. I think it's something about hot and 100. I don't know if it was 100 kilometers, 100 miles. But basically, it was a really hot and demanding bike race. and what he did is, because he was an EMT, he just took an IV bag and he filled it with water, and then he slung it in a tube sock, just so he can have some easy hydration that hung over his shoulder while he was riding, and that kind of inspired, hey, maybe I should just make this a product. And that's kind of how Camelback came to be. And they're kind of the most well-known name in the industry for getting a backpack that's got a water retention reservoir in there. And I've had Camelbacks. I mean, I've used my dad's ever since I started going hunting with him, and they were a lot older, kind of older technology. The new hydration bladders that Camelback uses are pretty slick. And so this one actually holds the antidote, and the antidote is kind of their flagship bladder right now. So I'll talk about that. So it's kind of a two-part review, talking about the pack itself and what houses the reservoir, and then talking about the antidote itself and some of the features of that. So I got this probably about 3 months ago, and I've been using it almost every week, maybe every other day. It's usually when I try and ride my bike in between sitting on my ass and doing graphic design. So I have to get out and enjoy the sunshine and fresh air, or I will go mad sitting here in front of this computer. I do that enough. So I've been riding my bike a lot, and I usually have a water bottle. You know, you got your bike with your water bottle holder. Well, you'll drink through that water pretty quickly, and when you're trying to get to that water while you're riding, there's a pretty good chance of you wrecking yourself because you're shifting your weight and your balance. So I kind of wanted something that I can easily rehydrate, get a sip of water with one hand without having to go all squirrely on my bike and go tea kettle in the highway. So I wanted to get a Camelback, and of course I saw they had this beautiful model in multicam, and I am a multicam addict. If it's in multicam, I probably will buy it. So I thought that was cool. It's got Molly, kind of the new low-profile Molly system where it's just laser cut instead of having the nylon straps kind of sewn on there. But I like how it's kind of real low profile. If you don't feel like adding extra crap onto the front of your gear, like mag holders and add-in pouches and dump pouches, it doesn't look all that bad, like just left there raw. So I kind of like that a lot. So getting into, I've used it for mostly bike riding. I've taken it just hiking, scouting a couple times. I didn't get a chance to take it to the NRA show or SHOT Show this year, but I got it thinking that next time I go to SHOT Show, I'm walking around the showroom floor, have a little bit of water with me, and then I have a little bit of extra storage if I want to throw in some free stuff that I sometimes get from the vendors. Also, if you wanted to carry around some food instead of having to break out the big bucks for whatever they're serving on the floor, it's got room for that too. So it's made up of 500D ripstop Cordura fabric, which is kind of a good balance between lightweight and durability. I talked about on the last show when I was reviewed the 511 72-hour Rush backpack. It's made of 1000D, and it's freaking heavy. So going to the 500D kind of reduces some of those ounces, but still gives you a really good durability. The shoulder harnesses let me hold it up to the camera a little bit better. I'm trying a new camera angle out this week so I can show off products a little bit better. So this is it's got a 7mm EVA foam padding, and then the backside is a 420D high density nylon on the backside. And what Camelback calls the air director back panel, which just uses a little 3mm closed cell foam that's designed to increase air ventilation. When I've got the reservoir fully filled up, so it's at its heaviest, and I'm riding my bike around and I've got this on my back, I notice that I don't feel like a swamp developing on my backside. Because you've got this contact with your back skin and you're sweating. So it does do its job at alleviating that swamp back. Usually you call it something else, but I don't. Can I say ass? Oh, I guess I already did. Swamp ass. There you go.
Good for you.
Good for me. So the front of the
dangerous.
the front of the pack has an upper and lower zippered compartment. The upper one doesn't have any kind of organization with it, but it is big enough for you to like fit a sandwich in it or any other kind of gear. Let me open that for you guys. So that's as big. Oh, look at that! I've got a little road snack in there already. So there's plenty of storage in that top compartment, but there's no organization to it. The lower compartment, the one that's got that molly on the outside, it's got a lot more room and organizational pockets to it. So you can see right now I have a PMag strapped in there. So if you did want to use this to carry some ammunition and some magazines for your carbine, you can strap your mags in here just fine. So I pull that out. So it's got two of those, what I'd call magazine-sized pockets. In the right, or I guess left pocket, it's got pencil pouches if you wanted to be more like an admin and put pens in there. It's got a kind of a larger pouch behind that, and then the front flap has this mesh pocket for you to put anything else in there. So for me, I usually stuff like if I have a light jacket in the morning when I'm going out and it heats up, I kind of stuff that in there. The main compartment is what houses the bladder itself for the reservoir. So this is what the mil-spec antidote looks like. You can go to the store like REI or any kind of outdoor store and buy an antidote by itself, and usually they're like blue with like a blue handle here. But being the mil-spec version, it's got to be a flat dark earth. So that's how it fits in there. It holds 3 liters of water, or for anyone that does not use the metric system, it uses 100 ounces. Let me pull it out of the bag here. So it's kind of a dark gray color bladder, and it utilizes a really sweet QD system. So this quick lock, QL hydro lock is what they call it. So you can see here at the bottom of the reservoir, this is the drinking tube and how it connects in there. All I got to do is just press this button and the feeding tube will just pop right out. So now, and it seals itself when you're not connecting anything into that valve. So now I've got the bladder with the feed tube or the drinking tube disconnected, and I can fill it up. The really nice thing about the antidote, it's kind of got this like almost plastic pan shaped handle. So you have something to actually hold on to while you twist open this big wide mouth cap and then fill it up with water. Usually with other bladders, you gotta kind of balance it with both hands while you're filling it. Usually you spill a bunch on yourself and all over your stuff. So the antidote kind of incorporates this handle, so it makes it really easier for your other hand to be filling it up from a faucet, drinking fountain, or if you're actually roughing it, you can use this handle to just dip your reservoir right into the stream. Hopefully it's a spring with fresh water. I'll talk about hydration or filtration a little bit later, lightly touch on it. I haven't really invested in a system to incorporate with this, but it is compatible with some filtration systems out there. Sean knows a little bit more about that.
Yeah,
Sawyer.
I've got a recommendation for it. Yeah, the Sawyer microfilter is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that once we go off air.
Yeah, but so it's pretty nice. You just take this and dip it into the water. Really easy to hold on to. It's really sturdy. And then at the top of this collar is a hook. You see this little hook right here. This is what hooks around a nylon loop inside the mule backpack, and it just basically suspends from that loop. So this is the cover for it, or the cap. It makes a really nice seal. It's only a quarter turn, so it's not like you're sitting here and you're turning on this thing forever. It's just a quick quarter turn, and bam, it's all sealed up. So the feed tube, it is insulated, so it kind of keeps it from getting too hot in direct sunlight, and then keep from getting too cold if you're in the winter. Prevent your freeze line from freezing up too soon. The nice thing about the inside is Camelback was nice enough to say, you know what, not everybody likes to have the tube coming right out the top behind your neck. Sometimes they want it on the left side under your left arm. Sometimes you want it on the right side. So they've actually incorporated 3 openings in the mule backpack for you to feed this tube out of. I have it coming out the top, obviously. and that's how I like it. But you could have it coming out of either the left or the right side if that's what suits you. So it's really nice that they added that flexibility to where you want that drinking tube coming out of. As for the drinking tube itself, I have it kind of woven into the straps, and this D-ring really is easy to kind of feed it through the straps because it uses the same quick detach system. So here's the bite valve. It's got a nice kind of flat dark earth cover over it, and you can break open the cover with just one hand. And there's your bite valve. Works really well. You get a good amount of water. It does have a kind of a what did I call this? Kind of a flow control. So you can take this lever and push it all the way up, and it'll completely shut off the flow. So if you want anything to accidentally come out for whatever reason, or if you've gotten too much water when you're sucking in and you want a little dribble, you can kind of turn that down, just almost like an actual IV bag at the hospital. But the nice thing is that if this bite valve gets dirty or contaminated, maybe I fall off my bike and I land in a pile of bear scat, and somehow my bite valve gets contaminated or ruined, I can just pop it off just like that, and then if I have any spares in my backpack, I can clip in the new spare, and then you're good to go. Or if you're worried about trading cooties with your partner and you kind of share the same backpack, you need to have your own bite valve and just swap them out so you're not worried about contaminating each other. I know it's kind of a weird hypothetical, but I guess it's possible.
If you go camping with Tony.
Yeah, if you go camping with Tony, you're going to want to bring extra bite valves.
If you go camping with Tony, you're going to want to lock your tent at night.
So I have the drinking tube kind of woven in, like I said here. So here's a shoulder strap. It goes through that first nylon strap, goes through that plastic D-ring, and then it kind of loops around and goes up to the female end of this M buckle that claps around your front chest. I have it coming up through this kind of double loop. So when I'm riding, it's actually the valve is pointing up towards my face, but it's not like in my face where it's like poking me in the chin. So whenever I want, I can just take my other hand and break the cap off of the cover and take a sip and then just push it back down. So it's really nice, kind of just single-handed operation. It does have Velcro on the bag itself. So if you want to show your support for Patriot Patch while you're riding around, you do have spots for you to put your patches up on the top there. Or if your buddies all have the same.
May or may not be compatible with other manufacturers' patches.
That's right. I think it'll work with Blackback Resources patches. I can say that much at least.
Nope.
Nope.
Nope. Patriot Patch only.
I was trying to throw you a bone there, but okay, Patriot Patch only.
Yeah, it's like 2 negative magnets. It just pushes away. Doesn't go.
Yeah. The polar opposites.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see here, going down to my review. Overall, I'm giving it a 8.5, and I'll talk about the cons that are keeping it from achieving a higher score. But so far, I've really enjoyed using it. I take it every time I go out on my bike, and I'm talking about the actual bikes with pedals, not like a motorcycle bike. So it's really great. It's got marked measurements on the bag. Let me grab the filter that I threw on the ground real quick. All right, so in case you're an ounces guy or a liters guy, it's got measurements on both sides, kind of welded into the plastic material. So 64, 48, 32, and 16 ounces. So if you're actually out there and you're worried about how much water you're drinking, if you're in the desert and you don't think you're going to get to refill anytime soon, this kind of helps you keep track of, okay, I started at 48 ounces and in the course of 6 hours I've drank in 32, if you really want to get particular on your rationing that way. Or if you're using supplements, which I actually have some to show you guys, Camelback actually makes these flavor tablets. But there's also cleaning tablets as well when you're talking about keeping the system maintained. But these are Camelback Elixir flavor tablets. They're just basically effervescent tablets. You're supposed to put 1 tablet in per 16 ounces. So if you fill this bag up to the 40 or the 32 or the 48, that kind of tells you how many of these tablets you want to add to get the correct ratio of flavor. I think it doesn't really matter if you have too much flavor or too little flavor. I wouldn't try to OD on these things because they do have caffeine in them. So that's kind of how they give you the basic nutritional information. So if you fill this thing up to 48 ounces, you're basically going to want to add 3 of these tablets and no more, unless you really want to have a heart attack. But it's got like guarana in it for caffeine and some other stuff that I can't pronounce. So I'm sure a nutritionist would tell you that these are no good for you. But I always hate the taste of plastic when you first get a hydration bladder and you're drinking through the tube. And kind of taste that plastic. There's obviously there's ways to kind of wash that out before you use it. Baking soda, some vinegar. But as far as keeping that kind of taste from accumulating again, I really like to use these tablets. In fact, I use these tablets in just regular glasses for drinking water. If Camelback included these in with all their hydration bags, they would sell a hell of a lot more of these tablets than just having them in like the accessory shelf where people kind of often overlook. So there's tangerine orange and there's raspberry lime. I really recommend them. I've been using those a whole lot. Helps me drink more water too. And so where did I leave off? So if you're a liters guy, it tells you where half liter, 1, 1.5, and 2 liters are, and then there's the top mark for the 3-liter capacity. So overall, I really liked it, and I'll go over the negatives that I didn't like. The shoulder straps are, even though there's padding there, it's not a lot of padding, and it's actually kind of rigid and a little bit stiff, and I actually had to take the shoulder pads and purposely try and wear them in a little bit. So taking them in my hand and just kind of really bending them and flexing them over themselves over and over. See the camera focus here. So I had to do that to kind of break them in and get them really comfortable right out the gate. I'm sure that happened over time naturally if you wanted to put in the time and the hours of just wearing this and having these kind of stiff bands pushing into you. It's not the worst shoulder strap I've ever had, but it's certainly not the best. And if you fill this thing all the way to the top with water, you got 3 liters of water. I didn't weigh to see how much that weighed, but if you pack your bag full of gear, you're talking about adding some serious pounds to your back. It'd be nicer if this was a little bit more comfortable of a padding system. It just seemed like the most efficient way to add some padding and comfort to this shoulder strap and not wasting any time in the production process. So they could definitely improve the shoulder straps, but they're not the worst thing I've ever tried. Also, the price is kind of a big off-putting factor. Being Camelback and being a name brand, you're kind of paying for the name as well. So, it does have some high quality compared to other off-brands use different materials that maybe aren't as strong or mil-spec, and I say that with air quotes because they really push the fact that it's a mil-spec bag. And we all have talked about mil-spec before and how that basically means nothing, and it's just kind of a marketing ploy. So the shoulder straps and the cost are 2 things that are keeping it from being a really high score. So let me get through the 8 key points, minus reading what other people are saying, because that's regurgitating, and we're not going to do that anymore. Yeah. So the claim to fame is the Camelback Miltac Mule Hydration Pack is ideal for shorter adventures with the capacity and features to keep you hydrated and comfortable as you get the job done. Target market is hikers, campers, and hunters, as well as bicyclists. I guess you could add regular motorcycle riders too, kind of the traditional bikers. Features and benefits: the 500D ripstop Cordura fabric, front panel, gusset and shoulder harness, the 420D high-density nylon on the shoulder harness on the backside, the foam padding, the 7mm on the shoulder harness, and the 3mm closed cell foam back panel padding. The capacity, like I said before, is 3 liters and 100 ounces. The antidote, let's see, the total capacity is 8 liters of the bag. The total weight of the bag with the reservoir unfilled is 1.9 pounds. Dimensions are 17.5 by 18.5 by 7.9, and the MOLLE webbing is obviously that low-profile laser cut, which is supposedly really tear resistant. So it's kind of a nice feature. Not completely reading through what other people have said, but I will bring up something that someone else mentioned, is that the holes that they cut for the MOLLE webbing on this one, I don't know if it's consistent across the board. It should be. But there has been another reviewer that said that some of their MOLLE accessories didn't fit. Some of those straps didn't fit inside the holes cut into this laser webbing. So I've tried it with some of my stuff, and I've noticed that it fits fine. So I'm not sure if maybe what he got from another manufacturer, say it's a mag pouch, maybe it was an out-of-spec mag pouch as far as the straps go. I don't know for sure, but I've tried a couple of my own accessories, and they seem to fit through the holes just fine. And obviously it is backed by Camelback's Got Your Back lifetime guarantee. So, you're covered if anything goes wrong with it there. So the other aesthetic options available, Black, Coyote, or Multicam. The Multicam is more expensive. So the skipping over what other people are saying, obviously, and getting right to the price point, $166.50 is the MSRP. Amazon is $114.93, and that's where I bought it through Amazon. So if you need it now, I would say shop on Amazon for the lower price. The overall rating, like I said, I'm giving an 8.5 is great. Pros, the width of the shoulder straps are nice because it kind of helps spread out, distribute the weight, and I didn't notice it kind of riding up and chafing my neck at all. The insulated drinking tube is obviously really nice. The 3 options for running the drinking tube out of the bag I thought was a really nice touch. Me riding a bike, I like to keep it coming out of the top behind my neck and running down one of the shoulder straps just so it's out of the way in case I'm riding through any kind of tall vegetation that it can snag on, or if I'm working on my bike and it doesn't lean over and get caught in the gears or anything like that. But if you're doing a different activity, maybe you want it coming out the side, so you have that option. And then obviously the pros, because that low-profile MOLLE webbing is really nice, and I like to see that coming out more in the future. Just like Tony gets into, tactical used to be really big and obnoxious and intrusive, but it still had that functionality. Now they're retaining the functionality of being modular and adding stuff, but they're trimming down on some of that excess fat. So I really like that feature. The Sentry plate carrier that I got from Sean, Black Bag Resources, has the same kind of laser cut MOLLE system on there. So I'm starting to really like how that is compared to the more traditional thick, sewed on MOLLE webs on there. Now the cons, the padding and the shoulder strap, like I said, it's rigid and uncomfortable at first. You really kind of have to manually break it in if you want to squeeze out some extra comfort there. And the Velcro management of the excess straps would be a really nice feature. I want to hold up the bag one more time to the camera. But right now I have the straps kind of set to my height and width. And look at all this, the extra. It would be nice if there was some kind of better system for retaining all the extra material there. They do have some loops on there, but I tend to take a rubber band and wrap it around the excess. But that's just me. So 8.5, that's my review. Now that I'm finished with that, Sean, I haven't found I haven't purchased the Sawyer filtration system yet, but do you want to talk on that just to supplement my review?
I'll add a couple of things. The Sawyer micro filter is a teeny tiny little job that is capable of filtering 100,000 gallons, and they send them overseas quite a bit to what I'll describe as third world nations that are having trouble with clean drinking water, things like that. They've got a couple different versions of it, but for your application, it's real easy to run as an inline filter. If you wanted to cut your tube, you can connect that in on the tube. I would zip tie it in place and run it right there inside your Camelback, inside your mule, and basically just forget that you have it there until you get 100,000 gallons through that Camelback, which the thing will probably fall apart before you get there. But I retail them at about $20. So for 100,000 gallons, and it filters out 99.9999% of harmful bacteria, Cryptosporidium, Giardia, all those nasty little bugs that tend to make you sick. Great filter for a very low price. Years ago, what I started with was a pure Hiker, and then went on to the Hiker Pro, which is generationally, it was very small at the time, considerably larger than the Sawyer microfilter. And I thought I was getting a great deal because that would do 60,000 gallons. You mentioned the bite valve being removable. If you want to pull that up real quick, I'll show you another trick with that. If you were going to use a pump type filter, you can remove that bite valve. And I'm going to assume Camelback still makes these. I haven't bought a Camelback in a couple of years. But if you look how that's a female end and the male end is on the bite valve, they sell spare male ends that you can connect to the output for your filter, connect it directly into your drinking tube with your bite valve removed, and you can pump that filter to backfill your reservoir that way, so you don't have to take the pack off. So if you're using this antidote in a much bigger, like 50,000 or 5,000 cubic inch backpack that you're using for longer term backpacking, you don't necessarily have to drop that 60 or 70 pound pack, pull everything out, and fill through the main opening. You can backfill it through that drinking tube. I have a picture of it somewhere from my last trip on the Appalachian Trail, because that's my preferred method. Is I drop the input in the stream or lake that I'm filling from, connect it where the bite valve is, and pump away until that sucker's full again.
Another thing about that would be is how do you know when it's full?
You figure it out pretty quick because you get resistance on the filter, and you can feel the weight on your back. You'll as you use these things, you develop a sense for it, and it's what's the capacity on that one?
100 ounces.
100 ounces. That's a considerable amount of water. When that's down below half, you're going to feel the weight is gone. You're going to feel a different kind of pressure against your back. That the bottom half of it feels more full than the upper half, and as you fill it, you'll feel where that line is again.
Cool. So there's two ways. But that splicing method, that would be good if you want to actually take your filter or take your reservoir, dip it into a water source and then as you're drinking through the drinking tube, it goes through that spliced-in filter, so it's filtering as it's going through the tube and into your mouth. But all the stuff that's in your reservoir would be unfiltered and potentially, got some bugs in it.
Correct.
Whereas the other way, you're pumping it in and you're putting clean water into the reservoir so that you can drink it later on. So you never have to worry about, I've got to wash my reservoir out because, unfiltered water went straight into it.
Correct. And that's the other side of that. The first inline filter I saw was from Blackhawk, and that was back in the days when Mike Knowles still owned the company, and he was a prior service with Naval Special Warfare. Had been all over the world and designed things with that in mind. And that was kind of the minimalist way of providing clean drinking water without having to go through all that other stuff. If we're going to use the method where you're filling your reservoir from a lake or stream without filtering it, I would definitely suggest some sort of pre-filter, whether it's a bandana or something else to kind of at least reduce how much crud and sediment and dirt and leaves and all that junk gets in there, because that's going to extend the life of your inline filter too.
Right. Don't just go to Tony's house, go in his backyard and dip it into his little pool there.
Yeah, no, he washes his feet in that thing, so definitely boil that before you put it through your filter.
All right. Well, thanks for adding that. I've actually been looking into it, but I kind of wanted some clarification, so I got it right from the horse's mouth.
I'm the horse.
You're the horse. Yeah, I like that method of pumping it in clean as opposed to having to cut my lines and splice in that mini filter.
Right. What you need to keep in mind at that point, though, is because you've got an in and an out on that filter, is now you need to do something to make sure you're not cross-contaminating those lines, too, when you wrap it all up and throw it back in the storage bag before you throw it in your backpack, because now you're taking that dirty water that's on the input and putting it against the clean output and possibly contaminating your supply again there. So cross-contamination is always a concern. You touched on a couple other interesting things, though, because the mule's been around for quite a while with the Camelback line, and I'm surprised to see, pleasantly surprised to see they picked up on things from other manufacturers. Again, Blackhawk was the first one to do the shut-off valve when you disconnect the line from the reservoir. Mm-hmm. I'm glad to see Camelback got on board using a similar system, because that always made sense to me, especially for military applications where you might want to carry more than one reservoir, but you don't necessarily need multiple drinking tubes coming out of that pack. But I'm disappointed to see they dropped the Velcro tabs that they used to put on the end of their adjustment straps as an easy way of just rolling that up and Velcroing it in place, and you don't have the loose straps hanging that you were kind of complaining about. So I don't know why they dropped that, because it seems like a fairly inexpensive thing to manufacture.
Well, yeah, something I actually didn't elaborate on is I was kind of talking about the chest strap, but they do have that Velcro tab here. What I meant to say is that I wish they incorporated it on all the straps and not just the shoulder ones. Because that's why I was like, oh man, that's really smart. And then I'm dealing with all these extra straps kind of flopping around going, well, why didn't they just be consistent throughout the whole thing? So I should have elaborated on that more.
Yeah, to me that was a smart way of addressing that. You don't need rubber bands or duct tape or electrical tape, which I've used on all of mine.
Yeah.
But again, I've got Camelbacks that are 10 and 12 years old and similar products from other manufacturers. I hate to say it, your reviews probably encouraged me to go out and buy a new reservoir. Don't tell my wife.
But based on your feedback of because you also had the 511 pack that I reviewed last week, and you mentioned that there's a couple spots on the backing that inadvertently wore down on your shirt while you're wearing this thing for long periods of time and really getting that wear period in. There is nothing on this backing for you to rub into your back. So it's kind of, now that you've mentioned that, I'm actually paying a lot more attention to these bags and thinking, well, is that going to wear into my shirts and my other gear at some point?
I'm glad to know I'm getting into your head more than just when you're picking out desserts.
Oh yeah, that's a funny inside joke. I was just thinking about I was at a sushi restaurant, and we were me and my fiance were having some mochi, which is basically bait for if you want to trap young Japanese girls, because it's this very cute little balls of ice cream in kind of a chewy outer layer. And they brought it to us in a very flourished presentation with drizzled chocolate on whipped cream. I'm like, whoa! I didn't think I was getting this. And I was like, man, Tony and Sean would just make fun of me if they knew I was eating this. And right at that moment, Sean had messaged me. So I was like, hey, I was just thinking about you. And so it just that's where that inside joke comes from.
My response was, I know.
So.
But here's the other thing. Tony and I are both fat guys, so any dessert is probably a good one. We're not really going to beat you up too much over that.
Right, and at least I'm drinking water and trying to be more proactive about my exercise to offset that. So.
Yeah, unless it's one of those diet desserts, and then just stop. Just stop.
You don't have diet and dessert in the same sentence. That's just wrong.
It's just wrong.
Low-fat treats aren't.
No.
Yeah, low-fat treats are like a bear.
It's more like a punishment.
Yeah.
So That's my review. Next, we're gonna get into let Tony talk about his second Frizz for everyone and get on his soapbox. But I have one of my own little causes that I want to plug in here, starting now. So Tony, you're just gonna have to wait just another couple minutes.
Okay. I don't want you to lose interest to stop listening to the show too. So go ahead.
All right, sweet. So I got messaged by a listener, and they are in Massachusetts. Just put MA because I can't spell Massachusetts. But in response to the gun ban that the Attorney General of Massachusetts just kind of banhammered, dictated on the 20th of July. There's a gun owners action league in Massachusetts that's actually trying to help raise funds to fight these laws. So there's a little bit of a fundraiser T-shirt for sale, and I wanted to plug it on the show since this is usually the time where we talk about, hey, fighting for your rights, supporting some kind of Second Amendment group, and doing something. And a lot of people just don't have the time to go out and actually put boots on the ground. Maybe buying an awesome T-shirt is kind of a passive-aggressive way of giving someone else support that's putting boots on the ground. And I know Tony's always talking about how he needs to raise more money. It ain't cheap trying to fight for rights, is it, Tony?
Not at all.
Right. So this listener sent me the link. It's a Fight Tyranny T-shirt. So it says Tyranny, it's back, and it's kind of got a silhouette of the state of Massachusetts on the shirt. So you have to have gotten good grades in your geography class to get that's what the state of Massachusetts looks like. And on the back it has someone holding a gun overlooking the city of Massachusetts, or a city in Massachusetts, saying, "Fifth, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law." So that's the Fifth Amendment. So if you want to buy this shirt, it's only $15. The color is cool blue. They're trying to raise funds, like I said, to help fight this law. So it's on booster.com. I've got the link in the show notes, or you can just search booster.com for Fight Tyranny and buy that shirt and help the people of Massachusetts fight this tyrannical ban.
Hey, Sean, I think I found your discount code for next month.
Please don't make it Massachusetts, please. Make it
Terry
Mississippi.
in Massachusetts.
I can spell Mississippi. Make it Mississippi.
Oh,
Mississippi. How many Z's are in Mississippi?
12.
No, I think this is great. I really like the style of the shirt, and I think it touches on something that Tony and I talk about frequently, and I've mentioned on other podcasts when I appear on those. The people that are trying to violate your Second Amendment rights aren't a big fan of your other civil rights either. They all go together. So the fact that they chose to quote the Fifth Amendment on the back of the shirt instead of the Second Amendment, I think is brilliant on their part and really shows how it all ties together, which is critical when we talk about civil rights. So good job, and I'm going to put in a little overtime this week at the day job and get myself one of these shirts and support the cause, even though I have to pay an extra $2 for being fat. Mm-hmm. But I think it's a great design. I think it's very intelligently presented, and I wish them the best of luck out there. And not that the Firearms Radio Network would endorse my personal opinion, but violate the law.
Yeah,
break that law. Screw those guys.
We do not condone breaking the law, but we also do condone not being just someone. What do you call it? Being a welcome mat, just getting walked all over.
Yeah. So let's segue that into
the second is for everyone.
Yeah, the second is for everyone. At no time condones violating the law in public. I'll never say that in public. So, in public. The second is for everyone. Diversity Shoot is coming up on October 6th at the Woodland Park Range, Gun for Hire, Woodland Park Range. We start at 6 p.m. We have a lot of awesome stuff. I just got sponsorship from Tough Products. If you've been following Simon Says Train on Instagram, you saw some of the gear that they sent out the other day. I'm going to have that gear broken down so you can see the stuff you can actually win or just get given to you at the October 6th Second is for Everyone. Another thing, talking about politics and your rights, you have to stay up on it. You have to join a Second Amendment group in your state. You really have to, just so you know what's going on when they try to pass backroom deals like New York Safe Act, something they did in the middle of the night, like something this lady did in Massachusetts, like something they did in Pennsylvania. You have to stay up on this, or all of a sudden, in a 24-hour period, you'll discover that you're violating the law and you're breaking the law, and you can go to jail for a really long time. Because ignorance of the law is no excuse. They say that, but then they change the rules on you in the middle of the night. New York did it, Massachusetts did it, and Pennsylvania did it. You have to stay aware. That's why I say join these groups. And if you can't afford to join the groups, because sometimes people, money's tight, join their Facebook page. Join a newsletter. Get involved so you know what's coming. And if you live in a perfect state, like some of you guys really think you do, then donate to other states, like this T-shirt. Get busy. Become a Second Amendment advocate, not just a gun owner. Sorry, but that's my soapbox. Get off your tail. If there are 100 million gun owners in this country, we should scare the hell out of both political parties, and we don't. Because we are pretty inactive. We have other things. We don't vote as a bloc. We don't vote as a bloc. We're just apathetic as any other Americans, and some don't even vote at all. You have to wake up, people. Your rights aren't taken away. You give them away. That's what happens with being inactive. As a Second Amendment person, you can't afford that. Because once this starts slipping, once the next generation doesn't have anything to do with firearms, the generation after that won't have anything to do with firearms, and it will just become this thing that no one does anymore. All right, that's me and my soapbox, and the second is for everyone. You can check out the diversityshoot.com or diversityshoot.com if you want to see when my next event is, if you want to check out pictures from the event. I'm going to have more stuff, including sponsors, that you can link directly to it. One of my sponsors is, of course, Sean from Black Bag Resources. You can go straight to his page from my page. All right, thank you for allowing me to talk about this every week and to be on every week. Again, diversityshoot.com and Simon Says Train on Instagram.
Yep, no sweat, man.
Hey, Tony, you did a good job on Lock and Load on Monday.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, it was really cool. Monday was a busy day. I was also on Self-Defense Gun Stories Monday. That will probably be out later next week.
See, you're just becoming a podcasting celebrity, and you don't even host your own damn podcast. I think we need to change that.
Yeah, because he's about to become like Weird Beard.
Yeah, pretty much.
Weird Beard.
Yeah, the one known as Weird Beard.
Weird Beard is like on, 6 different podcasts?
Yeah. So second is for everyone podcast, or gets you up on the Firearms Insider podcast. We'll make something happen here.
Oh, we'll get it going.
Just prepared to dedicate one day out of your week to just sitting and talking to a computer screen. It's gonna happen.
No problem. I'll already do it.
So send questions or comments to the email address gungearreview@gmail.com. Remember to subscribe and leave us an iTunes review. Or if you want to contact us and leave us some constructive criticism, then go to the website and you can just use the contact form. I get that too. Check out all the other shows on the Firearms Radio Network at firearmsradio.tv, and be sure to visit the Firearms Insider for published reviews and industry coverage. So thank you everyone for listening, and thank you Terry for the feedback, and everyone have a good week, shoot safe, and I'll catch you on the next episode.
See you guys next week.
Be safe out there, fellas.
Y'all be good.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye, Terry.
Bye, Terry. Nice.